Tonight you will discover how Queen Victoria and Prince Albert created the Christmas we cherish, from royal furs to worldwide feasts. Watch their private ritual transform into perfect Christmas. See luxury, warmth, and charity weave the tradition that endures. Room by room, history shapes the holiday, you know. Asterisk before we begin our story. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel, because by the end of this video, you will be fast asleep. Share in the comments what other topics interest you, and we will make videos especially for you. Now, close your eyes, get comfortable. We're starting the journey. You open your eyes and feel a deep winter chill around you. The air is still, the fields are bare, and you are in medieval England, long before the age of Queen Victoria. Christmas already exists, but it looks very different from the holiday you know today. There are no trees with glass ornaments, no stockings by the fire, no crowds in decorated shops. Instead, this season is a quiet moment of faith, survival, and hope in the middle of a long, hard winter. People gather in small stone churches lit only by a few trembling candles. They stand close together, breathing in the cold air, listening to Latin words many of them do not fully understand. After the service, they share simple bread, weak ale, and maybe a bit of cheese or meat if the year was kind. Winter brings hunger and sickness, so any shared meal feels precious. Evergreens like holly, ivy, and mistletoe hang above doors and on rough wooden beams. These plants stay green when everything else has died back. And for people of this time, they are a promise that life will return when the snow melts and the light grows. Long before Christian priests came to this land, people watched the sun and the stars and feared the long night of the winter solstice. They lit fires, brought green branches into their homes, and held feasts to push back the darkness. When Christianity spread across Europe, the old customs did not disappear. Instead, they were gently reshaped. The winter feast became a celebration of Christ's birth. Greenery that once honored nature now symbolized eternal life. Old songs and new prayers mixed together, and slowly a layered winter tradition took form. In the Middle Ages, the most joyful part of the season was the period known as the 12 days of Christmas, from Christmas Eve to Epiphany. For peasants who worked the land from dawn to dusk for most of the year, these days were almost unbelievable. Work stopped, or at least slowed. Lords opened the doors of their great halls and offered roasted meat, thick bread, and spiced wine to their tenants. Music filled the smoky air. Simple flutes, stringed instruments, and strong voices singing together. Villagers went from house to house in a custom called wassailing, carrying a shared bowl of warm drink, singing for their neighbors, and receiving food, drink, and blessings in return. For a brief time, the strict order of daily life loosened, and people felt that winter did not completely rule them. Then the mood of the country changed. In the 17th century, England entered a time of civil war and sharp religious conflict. A strict Protestant movement, the Puritans, rose to power and looked at Christmas with deep suspicion. To them, the feast seemed too noisy, too close to old pagan rituals, and not clearly ordered by the Bible. In 1647, the government made a radical decision and banned Christmas as a public holiday. Churches were told to stay closed on December 25th. Markets could not sell special festive food. Soldiers walked the streets to make sure no one held loud feasts or hung greenery on doors. Imagine a December where singing carols is an act of quiet resistance. Yet behind closed shutters, families still lit candles and whispered old songs. The holiday did not disappear. It simply went into hiding. When the monarchy returned in 1660, the ban was lifted and Christmas slowly came back into view. However, it no longer had the same strength or universal shape. In some parts of the country, people kept their customs. In others, the traditions had thinned out and almost vanished. Over the following 2 centuries, Another powerful force began to reshape daily life: the Industrial Revolution. People left small villages and moved into crowded, smoky cities. They worked long hours in factories, with little rest and no clear break in the year. For many, Christmas became a short church visit and a simple meal, if anything at all. The old, lively winter festival was fading, but the memory of warmth and community still slept in people's minds. While England hesitated, other places developed new winter habits. In German-speaking lands, families began to bring small fir trees into their homes and decorate them with fruit, nuts, and candles. In the Netherlands, children waited each year for the arrival of Saint Nicholas, or Sinterklaas, a kind bishop who arrived by ship and rewarded good behavior with small gifts. His story reached back to a real bishop from the 4th century in the town of Myra, in what is now Turkey. Legend said that he once dropped bags of gold down a poor man's chimney so that the man's daughters could marry and escape misery, and that the coins fell into stockings left to dry by the fire. Over centuries, this simple act of secret generosity grew into one of the most powerful symbols of the season, a mysterious gift-giver who appears in the darkest time of year. By the early 19th century, something in England began to stir again. Church choirs arranged their own versions of carols and walked from house to house. Families who could afford it prepared a goose or a joint of beef for a special winter dinner. Plum pudding, once questioned and even banned in stricter times, returned to the table as a dense, fragrant symbol of festivity. Newspapers and magazines started to print stories and poems about Christmas. And these texts reminded readers that the season could be about warmth, memory, and kindness. Not just about work and survival. You can now imagine a modest cottage at the edge of a village. Frost patterns cover the small window. Inside, a family sits close to the hearth, sharing a simple meal while someone quietly reads a passage from the Bible or hums a familiar melody. There are no bright lights, no commercial displays, and no carefully wrapped gifts, yet there is a feeling of rest and togetherness that stands against the cold outside. This is Christmas before Victoria, modest and fragile, but persistent. The traditions are still scattered and half forgotten, but they are ready. Soon, a young queen will come to the throne, and with her a prince from Germany who loves trees, music, and family celebrations. Under their influence, these quiet customs will be gathered, reshaped, and dressed in light and luxury. The simple winter feast of faith and survival will become the rich, carefully staged Victorian Christmas that the modern world will later recognize and repeat. You open your eyes again, and the world around you has changed. The muddy village roads and stone churches of the Middle Ages have turned into broad streets, gas lamps, and the noise of early Victorian London. Smoke hangs above the city, trains arrive and depart, factories work day and night. In this busy, new world, Christmas feels uncertain. Some people still go to church and share a simple meal. Others almost ignore the day. The old traditions are weak. The new ones are not yet born. It is exactly at this moment that a young queen and her prince step into history and quietly reshape the season. Queen Victoria grew up in a royal court that was formal and often cold. As a child, she experienced Christmas as a rather serious occasion, with protocol, ceremonies, and not much warmth. When she became queen at 18, she ruled a powerful empire, but her private life was still quite lonely. Everything changed in 1840, when she married Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, a small German duchy. Albert came from a family where Christmas was one of the most important moments of the year, and he brought with him not just affection for his new wife, but also a whole world of festive habits that would soon spread far beyond the walls of the palace. In Albert's childhood home, the Christmas tree already stood at the center of the celebration. A fir tree was set up in the main room, decorated with candles, apples, sweets, and small handmade toys. Gifts were laid out beneath its branches, and the family gathered around it in the evening to sing and exchange presents. For Albert, this was not simply decoration. It was a symbol of harmony, order, and close family life. When he and Victoria had children of their own, he wanted to give them the same experience. So he introduced the German-style Christmas tree to the British royal household. At first, it was a private custom, a quiet family ritual held in Windsor Castle and Buckingham Palace. You can imagine the scene: a tall fir tree placed on a table, its branches holding dozens of small wax candles, little biscuits, nuts wrapped in paper, and toys for the royal children. The young princes and princesses stand around the tree, watching the flames being lit one by one, while their parents look on with clear pride. The Queen, who once knew Christmas as a formal duty, now feels it as a warm family evening. This image, simple but powerful, would soon become a model for an entire nation. In 1848, a London newspaper, the Illustrated London News, published an engraving of the royal family at Christmas, showing Victoria, Albert, and their children gathered around a decorated tree at Windsor. The picture spread quickly. Middle-class readers looked at it with fascination. Here was the royal family, not on a throne and not in a grand ceremony, but at home together, sharing a gentle moment around a tree filled with light. For many people, it was the first time they saw Christmas presented as an intimate, emotional family celebration, rather than just a religious date or a village custom. The effect was immediate. Fashionable families in London and other cities started to copy what they saw. If the Queen and Prince had a Christmas tree, then having a tree became not only charming, but also modern and respectable. Shopkeepers began to sell small fir trees and simple decorations. Newspapers and magazines gave advice on how to do Christmas properly, how to arrange the tree, how to place gifts, how to plan a festive meal. A tradition that had been rare in Britain now moved quickly from royal palaces into upper-class homes, and then down into the growing middle class that wanted to imitate the style and morals of the royal couple. What made Victoria and Albert's Christmas so influential was not just the tree itself, but the picture of family life that came with it. The Victorian age was full of contradictions: heavy industry, crowded cities, social problems. Many people felt that the world was becoming harsh and impersonal. In this setting, the royal Christmas offered a different ideal: a home where parents and children gathered, where gifts were chosen with care, where music and prayer set a gentle tone. Christmas became the moment in the year when this ideal of family harmony could be acted out, even if just for one evening. Albert took the planning seriously. He helped design decorations and chose presents, often practical or educational: books, tools, scientific sets, items that reflected both love and discipline. Victoria wrote in her journal about the joy of watching her children discover their gifts, about the soft glow of the candles and the feeling of warmth in those winter nights. These personal reactions showed that the holiday touched not only the public image of the monarchy, but also their private hearts. As these details slowly reached the outside world through letters, reports, and illustrations, they gave people a pattern to follow. The influence of the royal Christmas did not stay limited to trees and presents. It helped fix the idea that Christmas should be a central holiday of the year, a time when work slows down and families come together. Employers began to accept that workers should have at least part of the day off. Railways offered special tickets so that people could travel home for the holiday. Churches planned their services around the new rhythm, and writers started to explore Christmas as a setting for stories about kindness, change, and moral choice. The most famous of these was Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol, which helped connect the season with charity and concern for the poor. Ideas that matched Albert and Victoria's public image of responsible, caring rulers. Under their reign, new elements appeared or became popular. Christmas cards, crackers that snapped and revealed small toys and paper crowns, and more organized giving to those in need. But at the center of this growing Christmas culture remained the same core image: a family gathered indoors while winter lay outside, sharing food, music, and thoughtful gifts under the branches of a glowing tree. This was the world the royal couple helped to build and to show to their country. You can almost feel the contrast. Outside the palace, London streets are wet and dark, crowded with workers leaving factories and carts rolling through slush. Inside Windsor Castle, the fire burns steadily, and the children's laughter rises as they reach for sweets and toys. The Queen and Prince stand slightly aside, watching the scene they have shaped, part tradition from Albert's German childhood, part new Victorian idea of a moral, affectionate family. From this mixture, something completely new is born: the pattern of Christmas that will travel across the empire, cross the ocean to America, and become a global standard. Before Victoria and Albert, Christmas in Britain was uneven, half forgotten, and often quiet. After them, it became a clear, organized, and emotionally charged celebration at the heart of the year. Their personal taste and their public image joined to turn a scattered winter feast into a shared national ritual. And as more and more homes placed a decorated tree in the center of the room, a simple question began to appear in every mind each December: not whether to celebrate Christmas, but how to make it feel as warm and complete as it looked in that famous royal picture. You step closer to the glowing fir tree in the center of the room. Its branches bend slightly under the weight of candles, glass ornaments, and sugared fruits. This is 1850s London, and the Christmas tree has become the shining heart of the holiday. Families of all classes now gather around them each December. But its journey to this place began thousands of years ago, in forests and solstice fires long before anyone thought to bring one indoors. Evergreens always held special meaning in winter. In ancient Europe, people chose holly, ivy, fir, and spruce because these plants stayed green while fields turned brown and trees lost their leaves. During the shortest days of the year, tribes decorated their homes and temples with these branches to celebrate nature's strength. They believed the greenery drove away evil spirits and promised that spring would follow the cold. When Christianity spread north, these customs did not vanish. Priests renamed the symbols. Evergreens now stood for eternal life through Christ. The old magic quietly joined the new faith dot by the 16th century. One German town took the idea further. In Strasbourg, families began placing whole fir trees in their homes for Christmas. They hung apples, nuts, paper roses, and white candles on the branches. The candles represented stars and the light of the world. Legend credits Martin Luther with adding the flames after seeing starlight sparkle through snow-covered trees one winter night. True or not, this image captured the quiet wonder that made the tradition spread slowly through German lands. The custom stayed mostly private for nobles and merchants. Poor families could not afford a tree, but wealthier homes made it a yearly ritual. Children waited eagerly, while parents decorated in secret, then lit the candles together as a family. Gifts waited underneath: carved wooden toys, books, sweets wrapped in colored paper. The tree became more than decoration. It marked a moment of unity, when daily cares paused and the home filled with soft light. Prince Albert brought this German habit to England in the 1840s. At first, only the royal palaces had trees. But the 1848 engraving changed everything. When people saw Queen Victoria's family circled around a candle-lit fir, they wanted the same scene. Nurseries in London and Edinburgh began selling small trees. Glassblowers imported ornaments from Germany: hand-blown balls, silver stars, delicate angels. Middle-class homes copied the royal style. Even clerks and shopkeepers bought tiny trees for their parlors. Costs varied widely by class. A noble family might spend £20 on a tall tree with imported Bohemian glass and real silver tinsel. A middle-class household paid £2 for a modest fir with paper chains, dried fruit, and homemade angels. Working families made do with branches tied together, decorated with cookies, apples, and wax-dipped nuts. Candles were the biggest risk. One spark could ignite dry needles. Special holders and damp cloths stood ready nearby. Still, the glow was worth it. Newspapers printed exact instructions. Place the tree on a sturdy table. Hang heavier ornaments low, lighter ones high. Light candles from top to bottom for even burning. Extinguish them before wax drips too far. Magazines showed drawings of perfect trees, symmetrical branches, balanced colors, gifts artfully arranged below. Having a well-decorated tree showed taste, order, and family harmony. Victorian virtues everyone wanted to display. Commerce quickly followed demand. By 1860, special Christmas markets sold trees grown just for the season. Railways shipped furs from Scotland and Germany to city centers. Toy makers produced miniature trains, dolls, and animals timed for December sales. Glass factories in Thuringia shipped thousands of ornaments yearly. What began as a noble custom became big business, with shops competing through elaborate window trees. Safety improved over time. In the 1880s, electric lights appeared in wealthy homes. No more fire risk. Tinsel evolved from real silver strands to cheaper lead versions that caught every candle flicker. Paper fans and lace snowflakes added movement when warm air rose. The tree grew taller, more elaborate, more central to the room. Think of the contrast. Ancient tribes carried single branches to chase winter shadows. German families lit cautious candles on small trees. Victorian hosts unveiled towering spectacles with crystal and gold. Yet the meaning stayed constant. Light against darkness, life through winter. Family gathered close. You watch as the last candle flames to life. Faces glow golden in the circle of light. Children reach for low-hanging sweets. Adults smile at shared memories. Outside, snow falls steadily on gaslit streets. Inside, the evergreen kingdom rules for one enchanted evening. From pagan solstice to royal fashion to every modern home, the Christmas tree endures. Its branches still bend under lights and love. Its roots reach deep into human need for hope when nights grow long. Victoria's family simply placed one German fir on a table. The world built an empire of evergreens around that spark. You move from the glowing tree toward a long table covered with white linen. Silver covers gleam under candlelight. The air fills with rich smells of roasting meat, sweet spices, and baked fruits. This is the heart of Victorian Christmas, the feast. In a time when food showed wealth and hospitality, no detail escaped notice. Every dish told a story of status, tradition, and careful planning that began months before December 25th. Goose ruled most tables through the early Victorian years. Farmers raised them cheaply, and every family could afford one. The bird roasted slowly over open fire until skin turned golden and crisp. Inside, cooks stuffed it with sage, onions, apples, and breadcrumbs soaked in goose fat. Rich gravy bubbled in silver boats. Potatoes boiled plain for servants, roasted with herbs for the family. Goose lasted through leftovers. Pies, soups, hashes for days after. Queen Victoria herself preferred it early in her reign, setting the standard for middle-class homes. Turkey gradually overtook goose by the 1860s. Larger birds fed more people. Brighter feathers impressed guests. But turkeys cost more and needed special care. Wealthy estates imported them from America or raised them in heated barns. One bird could weigh 30 pounds, enough for 20 guests. Plucked and trussed, it hung by the fire for hours, basted constantly. The crisp skin cracked when carved. Stuffing mixed chestnuts, sausage, and breadcrumbs. This shift marked rising prosperity. Turkey signaled you could afford luxury. No feast ended without Christmas pudding. This dense fruitcake evolved from medieval plum porridge. By Victorian times, cooks stirred dried fruits, suet, spices, brandy, and flour months ahead. The mixture matured in cloth bags hung from kitchen beams. On Christmas Eve, families gathered to stir up Sunday. Each member took a turn with a wooden spoon for luck. The pudding boiled 8 hours in copper basins. At table, it arrived flaming, brandy poured over and lit blue. A silver coin or thimble inside promised fortune or thrift to the finder. Side dishes filled every space. Mincemeat pies held spiced meat, fruits, and suet in crisp pastry, tiny versions of the main event. Roast chestnuts warmed hands before eating. Celery grew popular. Tall glass vases held crisp stalks as decoration and snack. Oysters opened cheaply for appetizers. Wine flowed. Sherry before dinner, port after, claret throughout. Children drank negus, hot, spiced wine mixed with water and sugar. Desserts brought wonder. Mince pies multiplied into dozens. Almonds blanched and sugared. Crystallized fruits glistened like jewels. The Queen's table added ices and jellies in silver molds. Middle-class homes served trifle, layered with custard, fruit, and cream. Servants ate simpler versions after guests retired. Timing ruled the kitchen. Breakfast light at 8 a.m., lunch at 2 p.m., dinner by 7 p.m. Cooks rose at 4 a.m. Christmas Eve. Turkeys stuffed at dawn. Puddings boiled by noon. Vegetables peeled, ovens stoked with coal. Maids polished silver till hands bled. One mistake ruined hours of work. Gas stoves appeared late century, easing heat but not pressure. Costs revealed class lines sharply. A noble house spent 50 pounds on Christmas food. Imported oysters from Colchester, French wines, hothouse grapes. Middle-class family budgeted 5 pounds. Local goose, homemade pudding, beer instead of wine. Workers bought a single goose leg or shared pies. Charities delivered food boxes to the poorest. Dickens's stories urged this giving, turning surplus feasts into moral duty. Presentation equaled taste. Tables set days ahead. Linen ironed crisp. China matched perfectly. Centerpieces rose 3 feet. Spun sugar castles, fruit pyramids, holly wreaths. Name cards directed guests. Children watched from side tables, eyes on the carving. Traditions layered meaning onto every bite. Breaking the wishbone promised luck. Cracking walnuts revealed tiny toys or mottos. The flaming pudding symbolized joy piercing winter dark. Passing port counterclockwise honored naval custom. Each act connected diners to history. While showing modern polished you watch the host carve the turkey with practiced strokes. Steam rises. Faces lean forward. Forks wait. The first slice goes to the lady of the house. Silence falls, then satisfied murmurs. Servants refill glasses quietly. Laughter builds as wine warms tongues. Stories flow with second helpings. Outside, snow dusts iron gates. Inside, abundance reigns. Goose yields to turkey. Porridge becomes pudding. Simple survival food transforms into theater. Every Victorian Christmas table stages this quiet drama. Generosity displayed, status confirmed, family bound by shared. Abundance in winter's grip. You leave the crowded dinner table and walk through rooms transformed by greenery and light. Holly wreaths hang on every door. Ivy trails along mantelpieces. Mistletoe balls dangle from chandeliers. Gas lamps flicker through red ribbons. This is Victorian Christmas decoration at its peak. Every surface covered, every corner festive, turning ordinary homes into winter palaces. No detail was too small when creating the holiday mood. Holly led the greenery parade. Its spiky leaves and red berries symbolized Christ's blood and crown of thorns. Sharp edges warded off evil. Victorians gathered wild holly from hedgerows or bought cultivated bundles from street sellers. Wreaths formed circles of intertwined branches, tied with scarlet ribbons. Door knockers disappeared beneath them. Harvesters stripped lower branches bare, leaving holly wars in countryside parishes. Ivy climbed walls and framed pictures. Unlike holly, it represented the Virgin Mary, humble, clinging, evergreen. Draped over mirrors and along stair rails, it softened sharp angles. Together with holly, the pair covered fire screens, table edges, and window frames. Servants spent days wiring branches, sewing ribbons, crafting elaborate knots. One wrong twist ruined hours of work. Mistletoe hung highest, the kissing plant. Parasitic vines grew on apple trees, gathered at great risk on ladders. White berries promised kisses, one per berry plucked. Noble homes suspended it from hall ceilings on scarlet cords. Middle-class parlors placed it above doorways. Working families tied simple bunches to beams. Romance bloomed beneath each sprig, chaperoned by giggles and blushes. Paper decorations multiplied everywhere. Children cut snowflakes, stars, and angels from colored tissue. Ladies fashioned cornucopias, horns overflowing with paper fruits. German glass beads strung into shimmering garlands. Silvered pine cones and gilded walnuts caught candlelight. Walls disappeared behind these creations. Even ceilings sagged under weight of draped fabric and ribbons. Candles ruled lighting before electricity. Bayberries scented the air. Beeswax for wealthier homes, tallow for most. Holders clipped to walls, tables, mirrors. Christmas Eve saw hundreds lit at once. Soft glow multiplied through glass ornaments. Dangers lurked. One toppled candle could destroy a decorated room. Buckets of sand stood ready. Still, no Victorian would sacrifice the shimmering effect. Seasonal touches personalized each space. Advent wreaths appeared mid-December, circles of fir holding 4 candles lit weekly. Jesse trees showed Old Testament scenes carved in wood or painted on parchment. Nativity cribs ranged from grand porcelain sets in mansions to simple clay figures on cottage shelves. Regional touches varied. Welsh leeks, Scottish pine boughs, Cornish laurel. Servants bore the labor burden. Maids rose before dawn Christmas Eve. Footmen climbed ladders with holly loads. Cooks decorated gingerbread. Butlers polished brass ewers holding greenery. One great house employed 20 staff for decorations alone. Middle-class wives directed children in simpler tasks. Poorer homes saw mothers work alone after bedtime. Costs reflected status precisely. Aristocrats spent £10 on imported German garlands, French ribbons, forced hothouse berries. Middle class budgeted £1. Local holly, homemade paper, 1 shilling candles. Workers gathered wild plants free, added ribbon scraps from shops. Charity groups distributed greenery boxes to tenements. Newspapers competed with decoration guides. Punch magazines satirized excess. Ladies' journals showed tasteful schemes. Pattern books sold designs, Elizabethan heavy garlands, Gothic spare branches, modern paper abundance. Social climbers studied these religiously. Proper decorations signaled breeding, wealth, moral order. Traditions carried deeper meanings. Holly's 12 berries equaled apostles. Ivy trailed eternally like faith. Mistletoe berries counted kisses for fertility. 3 candles meant Trinity. Families incorporated personal symbols, wedding gates in wreath knots, children's names on paper stars. Decoration became family history, written in green and gold. You pause beneath a mistletoe bowl. Laughter echoes from the hallway. A couple meets there, cheeks flushed, friends counting aloud. Holly scratches gently at your sleeve. Candle flames dance nearby. The room breathes greenery, spice, warmth. Outside presses winter dark. Inside reigns cultivated abundance dot from ancient door bows to Victorian splendor. Decorations serve the same purpose, reclaiming winter space for human comfort. Holly pricked fingers. Ivy tangled needles. Mistletoe sparked blushes. Each element fought encroaching cold while building anticipation. The work transformed houses into havens, marking territory against December's chill. You turn from the greenery-covered walls toward a table piled with envelopes, packages, and colorful paper. Ribbons twist around boxes. Wax seals gleam on letters. This is the new world of Victorian Christmas giving, organized, thoughtful, and increasingly commercial. Gifts once meant simple tokens between neighbors. Now they fill parlors and create seasonal business empires that run from October to January. The first Christmas card appeared in 1843. Henry Cole, a busy civil servant, wanted a quick way to send holiday greetings. Artist John Horsley drew a family feast with children in wine glasses, controversial even then. 1,000 cards printed at 1 shilling each. Cole mailed most himself. Wealthy friends bought the rest as novelties. Post offices handled 2.5 million Christmas letters that season. The simple idea exploded. By 1870, cards became affordable at 1 penny each. Lithography improved designs: robins, snow scenes, church towers, Bible verses. Middle-class homes sent dozens yearly. Children made paper versions at school. Aristocrats commissioned hand-painted originals from artists. Publishers competed fiercely. Prang in America, Delarue in London. Seasonal factories employed thousands of women pasting glitter and gold leaf. Gift traditions evolved quickly. Early Victorian children hung stockings by the fire, hoping for oranges, nuts, penny toys. Wealthier families placed gifts under the tree. Parents hid purchases from Regent Street shops, mechanical dolls, steam trains, puzzle books. Boys received tools, soldiers, globes. Girls got work boxes, samplers, porcelain. Prices ranged wildly. £5 toy theaters for rich children, 3p marbles for poor. Stockings held magic for working families. A tangerine meant relative prosperity. A shiny penny bought sweets. Small dolls or whistles thrilled most. Empty stockings crushed Christmas morning. Charities filled thousands yearly through newspaper appeals. One London fund delivered 10,000 stuffed stockings to hospitals and workhouses each December. Paper and ribbon became art forms. Department stores sold pre-wrapped packages. Brown paper parcels tied with string-suited servants. Silk-lined boxes for fine jewelry. Gold cord and wax seals marked status gifts. Children practiced elaborate knots on practice packages. Unwrapping became theater. Fingers untied bows slowly. Paper folded carefully for reuse. Commerce sensed opportunity everywhere. Toy shops opened November 1st. Confectioners displayed chocolate houses. Stationers stocked motto books, sealing wax. Railways ran Christmas trains with extra cars for packages. Postmen carried 100-pound sacks daily. One Oxford Street store employed 200 extra clerks December alone. Class differences shaped giving precisely. Nobles exchanged silver snuff boxes, jeweled brooches, racehorses. Middle class offered leather wallets, monogrammed handkerchiefs, books by Dickens. Workers traded handkerchiefs, pipe tobacco, homemade cakes. Servants received coin purses, gloves, shawls from employers. Children swapped orange peels, marbles, hair ribbons. Personal touches made gifts meaningful. Embroidery marked initials. Books inscribed from aunt to niece. Photographs mounted in leather frames. Lockets held tiny portraits. Diaries recorded who gave what. Social ledgers updated yearly. Proper reciprocation mattered deeply. Unequal exchange risked offense. New inventions delighted everyone. Kaleidoscopes spun endless patterns. Zoetropes showed moving animals. Magic lanterns projected ghost stories. Steam engines puffed real smoke. Prices dropped through mass production. Penny farthings, sixpence skates, shilling kites. Department stores offered layaway plans for families, saving months ahead. You watch a child shake a wrapped box gently. Paper crinkles. Mother smiles knowingly. Postman delivers final stack of cards. Father slices sealing wax with silver knife. Unfolding reveals watercolor church in snow. Family nods approval. Stockings bulge by fireplace. Oranges peek from woolen toes. Cards began as civil servants' shortcut. Gifts grew from fruit to factories. Simple tokens built seasonal empires. Victorian Christmas created modern commerce while preserving personal touch. Every ribbon, every stamp, every sealed envelope wove giver and receiver closer across class and distance. December mail became threads binding the nation in colored paper and handwritten. Wishes. You leave the gift table and follow laughter down the hall to a brightly lit drawing room. Guests gather around a piano. Cards shuffle on tables. Children perform simple plays. This is Victorian Christmas entertainment, carefully planned amusements that mixed old games with new sophistication. Noble houses turned holidays into theater, where every activity displayed wit, wealth, and social grace under festive cover. Charades ruled evening games. Guests acted famous scenes silently, while teams guessed titles. Shakespeare plays, novels, historical events. Aristocrats favored complex plots. Battle of Waterloo with toy soldiers. Romeo and Juliet balcony scene. Losing teams drank forfeit toasts. Middle-class homes simplified to nursery rhymes or Bible stories. Children watched wide-eyed. Learning social cues through play-dot music filled every pause. Ladies played carols on pianofortes. Gentlemen sang tenor parts. Professional quartets visited wealthy homes. Popular songs mixed sacred hymns with secular hits. God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, The Holly and the Ivy, newly composed Silent Night translations. Sheet music sold briskly December. Families practiced harmonies for weeks. Pantomimes dazzled theaters. Harlequin characters tumbled through trapdoors. Clown Pierrot chased Columbine. Fairy godmothers waved wands. Covent Garden ran 12-week seasons. Rich families bought boxes. Middle class attended gallery seats. Children begged for programs showing glittering costumes and mechanical effects. Pantomime became synonymous with Christmas magic. Private theatricals rivaled public shows. Noble daughters wrote scripts, cast brothers as heroes. Scenery painted by footmen. Costumes sewn from silk scraps. One famous house staged full Cinderella with real glass slippers. Audiences clapped wildly. Performers bowed dramatically. Supper followed in costume. Social climbers hosted amateur nights to display talented children. Table games tested cleverness. Snapdragon challenged bravery. Raisins soaked in brandy ignited blue. Players snatched prizes from flames without burning fingers. Blind man's buff chased giggling guests through furniture. Forfeits grew creative. Recite poetry backward, imitate animals, kiss mistletoe victims. Laughter echoed late into night. Storytelling held honored place. Elders recounted ghost tales by firelight. Dickens' readings drew crowds. Christmas carol recitals common. Children begged Narnia-like adventures. Invented histories of house ornaments entertained adults. Best storytellers commanded silence, faces lit by single candle, dancing-capped evenings. Quadrilles formed neat squares. Sir Roger de Coverley closed balls. Children swirled polkas with adults. Floor waxed slippery. Servants peeked from doorways. Supper breaks refreshed dancers with neatest punch, mince pies, iced cakes. Costs reflected grandeur. Theater boxes cost £10 season. Professional musicians £5 evening. Scenery flats £20 each. Costumes imported from Paris. Middle class rented pianos, bought songbooks for £1. Working families sang unaccompanied. Around kitchen tables, regional flavors spiced celebrations. Scottish homes held ceilidhs with reels, whiskey toasts. Welsh sang intricate harmonies, told Arthurian legends. Cornish mummers paraded in costume, performed sword dances. Irish steppers tapped rhythms on parlor floors. Each tradition showcased local pride. Timing structured fun precisely. Children performed 6 p.m. Adults played till 11 p.m. Supper at 9 p.m. Bedtime strictly enforced. Servants entertained separately downstairs after midnight cleanup. Their games rowdier, kiss in the ring, coin hunts, ale songs. You watch a girl recite Night Before Christmas. Room falls silent. Final line lands perfectly. Applause thunders. Father beams pride. Next, Uncle begins ghost story. Shadows leap on holly walls. Children edge closer to parents. Adults exchange knowing smiles. Victorian Christmas entertainment balanced restraint and release. Games tested manners. Music refined tastes. Plays displayed talents. Stories preserved heritage. Every laugh, every note, every curtain call reinforced social bonds while winter raged outside. High society played by precise rules, turning holiday nights into perfect performances of civilized joy. You step away from the brightly lit drawing room and peer through a side door into the winter night. Snow falls steadily on cobblestones below. Carriages wait with steaming horses. Footmen carry baskets toward waiting crowds. This is the other side of Victorian Christmas luxury, organized charity that turned private abundance into public duty. Wealthy families saw giving as moral obligation, especially when their own tables overflowed. Charles Dickens ignited the movement with A Christmas Carol in 1843. Ebenezer. Scrooge's transformation captured national imagination. Book sales topped 6,000 first week. Newspapers reprinted scenes. Churches preached from it. Suddenly, Christmas meant not just family feasts, but reaching across class lines. Rich families felt personal call to action. Dickens himself led by example, sending turkeys anonymously to workhouses. Workhouses housed society's poorest, orphans, elderly, unemployed. Christmas brought slight relief. Governing boards planned special dinners. Beef instead of gruel, plum pudding portions, beer ration. Children received oranges, toys from charity drives. Women got hair ribbons. Men tobacco allowances. Great halls decorated minimally. Paper chains, one holly wreath. Inmates sang hymns between courses. Visitors from wealthy parishes distributed envelopes with shillings. Aristocratic ladies organized bazaars. Stalls sold handmade lace, cakes, knitted goods. Proceeds funded workhouse treats. One duchess raised £500 in afternoon, enough for 1,000 dinners. Middle-class women visited slums Christmas Eve, baskets brimming, bread loaves, coal scuttles, blankets. Children trailed behind carrying oranges. Recipients called blessings on donors. Street collections multiplied. Postmen delivered charity cards requesting donations. Newspapers listed Christmas funds with daily tallies. One London paper collected £2,000, feeding 5,000 families. Railway companies donated free transport for food distribution. Police stations became drop points for toys, clothes, firewood. Servants participated actively. Butlers organized staff collections. Maids knit scarves evenings. Footmen delivered hampers Christmas morning before family dinner. Employers matched contributions. One estate gave each servant £1 to distribute personally. Power thrilled recipients more than money. Food distribution showed sharp organization. Parishes divided city into districts. Teams canvassed house to house. Lists recorded family size, needs, respectability. Deserving poor received full baskets. Meat joint, vegetables, pudding. Undeserving got bread, coal only. Ladies supervised division personally, questioning applicants through area screens. Children's charities drew heaviest support. Dr. Bernardo's homes dressed 2,000 orphans in new clothes yearly. Ragged schools hosted parties with magic lantern shows, sack races, bran pie surprises. Sunday schools collected toys for hospital children. Newspapers published photos of smiling faces, spurring more donations. Royal families set example. Queen Victoria donated £1,000 yearly to metropolitan charities. Prince Albert visited model lodging houses Christmas Day. Princesses packed stockings for orphanage girls. Illustrated London News covered these visits prominently. Public imitated royals. If Queen gave, everyone must. Costs scaled by class precisely. Great houses budgeted £100 for parish relief. Middle-class homes £5 for street baskets. Even laborers contributed coppers to collection boxes. Total London Christmas charity reached £50,000 yearly by 1870s. Massive for era. Traditions built community bonds. Rich families sponsored adopted workhouse tables. Inmates sent thank you letters read aloud at donor dinners. Children drew pictures of Christmas dinner for benefactors. Newspapers printed selections humanizing recipients. You watch footman hand wrapped bundle to shivering woman. 3 children cling to her skirts. She curtsies deeply. He tips hat, returns to warmth. Snow covers their tracks equally. Inside, laughter continues unchanged. Dinner waits. Victorian charity balanced self-interest and genuine compassion. Publicity burnished reputations. Tax benefits sweetened giving. Yet real hunger stared through tenement windows. Christmas bridged gulf imperfectly. Turkeys arrived cold, oranges bruised, but recipients treasured every scrap. Luxury upstairs fed duty downstairs, creating national ritual where wealth acknowledged its shadow while poor glimpsed abundance one day yearly. You slip quietly down the back staircase, away from glittering chandeliers and silk gowns. The air grows warmer, smells change to roasting chestnuts and strong tea. Laughter echoes from the servants' hall. This is Christmas below stairs, where the 40 staff who created upstairs luxury finally celebrate their own holiday. Masters dine at 7 p.m., servants eat at 10 p.m. After cleanup finishes, butlers receive Christmas boxes first, envelopes from departing guests containing coins, gratefully accepted with deep bows. Footmen earn tips carrying luggage. Maids receive half-crowns for room service. Kitchen staff get smallest shares. Master adds bonus. £1 for butler, 10 shillings down to scullery girl. Distribution happens precisely 9:30 p.m. in butler's pantry. Servants' dinner mirrors upstairs feast, smaller scale. Goose replaces turkey cheaper, feeds more. Same plum pudding arrives cold from family table. Beer replaces wine. Children of staff eat earlier at 6 p.m. with toys from master's nursery rejects. Servants wear clean aprons, not uniforms. Table decorated with leftover holly. Paper fans doubt food tastes better delayed. Hunger sharpens appetite. Goose fadier than turkey. pudding denser from reheating. Chestnuts sweeter roasted twice. Servants joke about finest table in house tonight. First footman carves with ceremony. Silence falls. Forks clatter happily. Games follow dinner, rowdier than upstairs. Kiss in the ring circles the long table. Coin hunt their chairs. Bobbing for apples in wash basins. Forfeits include imitating master's walk, lady's voice. Laughter louder, beer freer. No one retires before midnight. Housekeeper enforces decorum, but smiles at infractions. Music differs sharply. No pianoforte. Accordion, mouth organs, spoons. Servants sing broadside ballads, not carols. The holly bears the berry, becomes drinking song. Footmen dance jigs between tables. Kitchen maids clap rhythms. One butler plays violin, rare treat. No sheet music needed. Gifts circulate simply. Staff exchange among themselves. Pipe tobacco, hair combs, woolen gloves, handkerchiefs. Master gives useful presents. Penknives for men, thimbles for women, books of sermons. Servants prefer cash. 1 shilling buys half-day pub leave. Maids pool money for new shawls. Children play separately in scullery. Leftover toys. Broken doll houses, one-wheeled hoops, half-painted soldiers. Oranges roll across slate floor. Mothers watch proudly while clearing plates. Youngest maids sneak treats to kids between dances. Work never stops completely. Night footman patrols halls till 2 a.m. Kitchen boy tends fires. Still room maid brews morning tea. But pace slows dramatically. Breakfast pushed to 9 a.m. Family sleeps late. Servants linger over second beer. Hierarchy persists even in celebration. Butler sits table head. Housekeeper opposite. First footman pours. Lowest scullery girl washes up. Yet Christmas blurs lines slightly. Butler joins ring dance. Cook recites poetry. Tomorrow restores order perfectly. Regional traditions flavor celebrations. Irish footman leads step dancing. Scottish cook serves haggis starter. Welsh housemaid sings 3 verses nonstop. Black servants from colonies teach patter songs. Hall becomes miniature England. You watch cook propose toast. To the family upstairs, God bless them. Glasses clink. Laughter follows. First footman adds, and to us below, may we outlast them all. More laughter. Accordion strikes up. Feet stamp slate floor. Holly shakes on walls. Servants' Christmas reveals Victorian reality starkly. Upstairs theater of abundance rests on downstairs labor. Goose served at 7 p.m. came from their hands. Holly hung by their ladders. Yet their delayed feast tastes sweeter, their games freer, their laughter honest. Luxury's foundation celebrates in flickering candlelight, one night yearly when work yields to well-earned revelry. You step back from the servants' hall and gaze one last time across the candlelit estate. Holly fades on walls. Laughter quiets in corridors. Dawn approaches through frosted windows. The Victorian Christmas celebration, trees, feasts, games, charity, reaches its peak here in the 1870s. But this holiday will not stay confined to British parlors. It begins a journey across oceans, transforming winter worldwide. Queen Victoria's image traveled first through empire. India saw Christmas clubs in Bombay cantonments. Australian squatters imported German trees. Canadian lumber camps hung pine boughs. Soldiers carried carols to Zulu wars. Railways shipped decorations to Cape Town. Each outpost blended local customs with core rituals: trees, pudding, cards. Empire made traditions portable. America embraced elements selectively. Christmas trees arrived via German immigrants. 1830s. New York merchants decorated shops. 1850s. Clement Moore's 1823 poem, Ah, Visit from St. Nicholas merged Sinterklaas with Yankee Santa. Turkey replaced goose. Crackers never caught on. Yet family focus matched perfectly. Hearth gatherings became national ideal. Europe followed closely. France adopted trees as sapin de Noël. Sweden kept Lucia Day, but added cards. Russia imported ornaments via Baltic trade. Italy blended with Befana-witch gifts. Each nation filtered Victorian elements through local faith, keeping core warmth and light. Commerce exploded globally. By 1900, German glassblowers shipped 10 million ornaments yearly. American F.W. Woolworth imported trees 1880s, sold 200,000 first season. Japanese factories copied baubles. Department stores worldwide staged Santa Grottos. Christmas became biggest retail season everywhere. Technology accelerated spread. Electric lights replaced candles 1882. Safer, brighter, cheaper. Edison bulbs twinkled in Manhattan. By 1910, middle-class homes worldwide converted. Radio broadcast carols 1920s. Color films showed ideal celebrations. 1930s. Mass media standardized practices globally. Traditions evolved locally while keeping essence. Mexico blended with Posadas processions. Philippines mixed with Simbang Gabi Dawn masses. Japan created Kerimasu Keiki strawberry cakes. China manufactured 80% world ornaments by 2000s. Core symbols endured. Evergreen. Lights, gifts, family meals. Social meanings shifted too. Victorian charity ideal became food banks, toy drives. Family focus expanded to include friends, neighbors. Commercial pressure grew. Advertisers equated happiness with purchases. Yet original balance persisted. Spiritual roots, communal joy, winter light. Modern Christmas retains Victorian DNA precisely. December 25th Central. Trees dominate living rooms. Cards carry greetings. Stockings hang by chimneys. Turkeys fill ovens. Charity appeals fill newspapers. Family dinners anchor day. All traced to one royal family's candlelit fur in 1848 Windsor. You see the full circle now. Medieval peasants sang for cider. Puritans banned feasting. Victoria lit first British tree. Servants celebrated delayed joy. Empire carried traditions outward. Commerce standardized rituals. Modern families worldwide repeat pattern yearly. What began as German noble custom, popularized by British royals, reshaped human winter. One engraving sparked global chain. Holly from English hedgerows now grows in California. Plum pudding mixes with panettone. Santa merges with local gift bringers. Yet meaning stays constant. Light through darkness, warmth against cold, family against isolation. The estate quiets completely. Candles extinguish one by one. Snow covers all tracks equally. Inside, memories glow softly. Victorian Christmas achieved immortality not through permanence, but through perfect balance. Tradition simple enough to export, rich enough to enchant, flexible enough to adapt. Close your eyes now. The story ends where it began. In quiet wonder at human capacity to transform winter hardship into shared celebration. From medieval church candles to global electric displays, one truth endures. In longest nights, we create our own light. Merry Christmas from Queen Victoria's world.